Let's start with something that might feel uncomfortable to say out loud. You've worked hard, you've shown up, you've done the hours, maybe more than the hours. And somehow, after all of it, you're still in approximately the same financial position you were 1 year ago, or 5 years ago. And the explanation you've been given for that, the one everybody defaults to, is that you need to work harder, hustle more, wake up earlier, do more. But what if the problem isn't the effort? What if hard work and wealth creation are actually two different systems and nobody told you that? Here's something that should make you stop and think. The hardest working people in any economy are almost never the wealthiest. Construction workers, nurses, factory employees, people working 2 jobs to cover rent, working incredibly hard. And the people who are accumulating the most wealth are often working far fewer hours. That gap isn't luck. It isn't laziness on one side and secret knowledge on the other. It's the difference between working inside a wealth-building system and working outside of one. In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 specific reasons hard work isn't translating into financial progress for you. Not vague excuses. 6 concrete, named mechanisms, each one operating in your financial life right now, each one with a specific fix. And I want to be direct with you before we dive into it. Some of these will feel uncomfortable, because a few of them aren't just economic. They're about decisions and environments, and the things we tell ourselves about money. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying it because the only way to get out of a trap is to see it clearly first. So, let's nail the question. Why do so many hardworking people stay financially stuck? Well, it comes down to 6 forces almost nobody names directly. Here's each one. Reason number 1. The effort trap. Here's a history lesson that changes how you see your paycheck. The concept of exchanging your time and effort for a fixed wage was a design built during the Industrial Revolution to solve a very specific problem for factory owners. How to get maximum predictable output from workers at a predictable cost. The wage system was not designed to build wealth for the people inside it. It was designed to provide enough to sustain them so they'd come back tomorrow. This isn't cynicism. It's structural reality. And understanding it changes everything about how you approach your financial life. The effort trap is this. When hard work is the only strategy, you're playing a game that has a ceiling built in. You can work more hours, you can get promoted, you can get a raise, but your income remains tied to your time, which is finite, which means your income is finite, which means the gap between where you are and financial freedom is a math problem that doesn't close through effort alone. The fix is not to stop working. It's to add a parallel track where money works while you sleep. Savings compounding, debt reducing, investments growing. Even small, even slow. These things operate outside the time for money ceiling, which is why they build wealth differently than wages do. Nobody told you this because the system works better when you believe harder work is always the answer. More hours, more output, more effort. The wages stay roughly the same, the output increases, the owner benefits. Recognizing the effort trap is not about being bitter. It's about building a second system alongside the first one. All right? That's the structural reality of wages. But even people who understand that still get hit by the next one because it's invisible until you name it. And it activates the exact moment things start going well. Before we move to the next reason, I put together a wealth building guide that helps you take control of your finances. Also, do subscribe to the channel for more wealth building guides. That said, let's get into the next reason. Reason number 2, lifestyle creep. There's a pattern that happens to almost everyone at the moment they start earning more. The raise comes in, or the promotion, or the new job, and life gets a little better as it should. Things like nicer apartment, better car, more meals out, upgraded phone, more travel. None of those individual decisions feel reckless. They feel like rewards. They feel like the point of working hard. But the aggregate effect is that the new, higher income level gets fully consumed by the new, higher lifestyle. Net savings. The same percentage as before. Sometimes less. Let me break that down for your understanding. Lifestyle creep is when your spending automatically scales with your income, eliminating any widening of the gap between what comes in and what you keep. The specific defense against it is a pre-commitment rule. Any income increase gets split. Half goes to lifestyle improvement because you've earned it, it's sustainable, and deprivation isn't the goal. Half goes directly to savings or debt reduction before you've had a chance to build new spending habits around the full amount. This split has to happen at the moment the income changes. If you wait, the lifestyle adapts first, and the money is already spoken for. Lifestyle creep is insidious because it's invisible from the inside. Your standard of living goes up, everything feels fine, and yet you're no closer to freedom than you were at a lower income. You have to actively intervene at the moment of every income increase, or the system absorbs the gain automatically. Lifestyle creep is dangerous because you can't feel it. But reason 3 is different. It's structural. It applies no matter what you earn, and once you see it, you'll understand why the hourly wage model can never create the outcome most people are hoping for. Reason number 3. The time for money ceiling. There are exactly 24 hours in a day. You need to sleep some of them. You need to eat, travel, recover, and exist as a human being. Practically speaking, most people have somewhere between 8 and 12 hours available to trade for money. And here's the math, no one lays out plainly. If your income is directly proportional to your hours, and your hours are capped, then your income is capped. It doesn't matter how high the hourly rate goes. A fixed ceiling on your time is a fixed ceiling on your income. Here is the thing. The time for money ceiling is why two financially parallel people with the same income, same work ethic, same starting point can end up in radically different financial positions over 20 years. The one who only earned wages hit the ceiling. Their income was limited by their hours, and their hours ran out. The one who also deployed money into assets, savings accounts, index funds, a retirement account, eventually property, etc., had a second income stream that didn't require their time. Compound interest doesn't sleep. Dividends don't take weekends. Market growth doesn't need your hours. The gap between those two people isn't talent or discipline. It's the presence or absence of a non-time-based income component. For instance, $10,000 invested in a broad market index fund in 2004 would have grown to approximately $61,000 by 2024, based on average historical returns. No extra hours worked, no active management, no expertise required. The money did the work because it was put to work. You don't need $10,000 to start. You need to start with any amount you have. $50 a month into an index fund is a non-time-based income component. It's a vote for the second system, and it compounds. So, the solution to the time for money ceiling isn't working less. It's building a parallel track where money earns alongside your hours. This takes time to get meaningful, but it takes even more time if you start later. The ceiling doesn't lift by working harder inside it. It lifts by building something that operates outside it. Now, here's one that hurts a little bit because it's not about the economy or the system, it's about information. And this is what not knowing this stuff has actually cost you in dollars. Reason 4. Financial illiteracy as a tax. Nobody graduates high school having been taught compound interest in practical terms. Nobody comes out of their first job knowing what a Roth IRA is, what index funds are, what a good debt-to-income ratio looks like, or why the order in which you pay down debt matters. And that gap between what you needed to know and what you were taught has a dollar value attached to it. A real one. A quick illustration here. Consider 3 common financial illiteracy costs. First, not starting a retirement account in your 20s. The difference between starting at 22 versus 32, same monthly contribution, same returns, is often hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Not because of the extra 10 years of contributions, because of 10 additional years of compounding. Second, carrying credit card debt while having savings, paying 22% interest on a $3,000 card balance while holding $3,000 in a savings account earning 4% is a net loss of 18% annually. It's not an emergency fund. It's an expensive illusion of security. Third, not negotiating salary. Research from Carnegie Mellon and Harvard consistently shows that employees who negotiate starting salaries earn $500,000 to $1 million more over their careers than those who don't. This is not because they're better, because they asked. None of these require genius-level financial sophistication. They require information. Information that should have been taught and wasn't. Here's the thing. Financial illiteracy isn't a character flaw. It's a gap that exists because the people who benefit from you not knowing things had more influence over your education than the people who wanted you to. Recognizing that gap doesn't require anger. It just requires going back and filling it. Which is, in fact, what you're doing right now. I hope this is making sense. All right, before we move to the next reasons, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's move on to the next reason. Reason 4 is about what you didn't know. Reason 5 is about a decision you're making right now, probably without realizing it, that is actively costing you wealth every single month. Reason 5, the wrong risk profile. Risk feels bad, losing money feels terrible. And so most people, when they have savings, gravitate toward the place that feels the safest. A standard bank account, where the balance can be seen and controlled, and the number won't go down. The problem is that safety has a cost, and that cost, over time, is enormous. Inflation runs at roughly 2 to 3% annually in normal conditions. A standard bank savings account yields somewhere around 0.5% in a big national bank. That gap, 2% of your money's purchasing power disappearing every year, is a tax on playing it too safe. Meanwhile, the stock market, specifically a broad index fund, has averaged 7 to 10% annually over long periods. Yes, it goes up and down. Yes, there are bad years. But over 20 to 30-year windows, it has consistently recovered and grown. The risk of short-term volatility is real. The risk of 30 years at 0.5% versus 30 years at 7% is much, much larger, and almost nobody talks about it in those terms. The right risk profile isn't no risk. It's an appropriate risk for your time horizon. Money you need in 3 months belongs in a savings account. Money you won't need for 20 years belongs in the market because over 20 years, the bigger risk is not being in it. Fear of loss is natural. Letting that fear determine a 30-year investment strategy is expensive. Reframe risk not as how much could I lose, but as what is the cost of avoiding this. For long-term money, the cost of avoidance is enormous. That's it. And now the last reason. This is the one nobody wants to say out loud because it involves the people around you. But if you're serious about understanding why you're stuck, you have to hear this. Reason 6. The social spending trap. This sounds funny, right? Here's the thing. There's a concept in behavioral economics called social proof. Humans set their behavior norms based on what the people around them are doing. It's not a weakness, it's evolution. Social conformity kept early humans safe. It kept groups cohesive. It's deeply wired. But in a modern consumer economy, your social environment is setting your spending floor. And if that floor is set by people who are also stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, your floor is stuck there too. Think about the last time you spent money, primarily because someone around you spent it. You had dinner out because everyone or your friends was going. You bought the new phone because the old one felt embarrassing by comparison. You go on vacation because it felt like what people your age do. But honestly, none of those are wrong on their own. The problem is the aggregate. If your spending decisions are primarily driven by social matching rather than conscious choice, your savings rate is being set by your environment, not by you. The fix is not social isolation. It's two things: conscious awareness that this is happening and deliberate construction of some financial peer reference points. Whether that's a community, a money accountability partner, or just consuming content from people who are building wealth on similar incomes, you need reference points that pull your spending norms toward wealth, not away from it. You cannot sustainably outspend your peer group's norms and build wealth at the same time. This is not because you're weak. This is because the social pressure is constant and compounding. The people who succeed financially either find new peer groups, build new reference points, or become unusually resistant to social proof, which is extremely difficult to sustain. This is the one that feels personal. It is. That's why it matters. To wrap up, hard work is not the enemy. Nobody is telling you to stop. But hard work alone, inside a system designed to keep it trading for wages, without a parallel wealth-building track, without the financial knowledge to deploy money correctly, without managing risk appropriately, and without examining the social forces shaping your spending, that hard work will not produce financial freedom. Not because you're doing it wrong, because you're doing it inside the wrong architecture. The 6 reasons we just discussed are solvable, not overnight, not perfectly, but gradually. The next step is figuring out which of these is hitting you hardest, because that's where the leverage is. Some people's biggest unlock is investing. Some people are in a social spending trap. Some people's is the leak audit from lifestyle creep. Before you go, I put together a wealth building guide, link description, and pinned comment. 10 minutes. Tells you where your biggest leverage is.